I did warn you, this was going to be my next video. Today we will make cat. No, not the fluffy kind. We will remake the Linux CLI tool, cat. Cat is short for concatenate. Cat is used to output a file into standard out, like your terminal. Cat can be used for a lot of various things, but we will focus on reading out a file into standard out. Here, let me show you how it works. We just type cat and the file name. Oh, sorry, I had no idea what was in that file. Okay, let's start by making our C file. I'm going to call mine cat. Oh man, how many times am I going to have to say cat in this video? Send help. Before we start, let's think about this for just a second. When we call cat, a file is necessary to run. So 1, we will need to check the argc, that should be 2. 2, we need to open the file to read. And 3, finally output file to standard output. Hey, that's easy as 1, 2, 3. And everything we need is in our trusty stdio header. Next, we need our main function with argc and argv. We're going to go ahead and return 0 at the bottom here. Alright, right off the bat, we should do the first step. Let's check our argc. We're going to keep it simple and only accept one file. We need to check if argc is 2. The bang equals is saying if argc is not 2. So if the argc is 1 or 3 or any other number than 2, this code block will be run. We will print out a simple error statement and return 1. And let's test that out. I'm going to compile and call it cat. Now running with no arguments, we see our helpful error and usage. Notice this %. This is because I didn't add a new line at the end of our usage in our printf. Now if we run with our test.txt file, we get no errors. Hooray! Alright, let's open up our file. I'm going to go ahead and add that new line here. Now, step 2 is opening the file for reading. So we need a variable to hold our file. Fortunately, C has the file object, all uppercase. Now, all of our functions to open, read, and close the file actually require a pointer. So we need to make our file a pointer object. We're just going to add this little star right here. I could put everything in main, but we are trying to level up here. So let's make a function just to open up our file. Let's have it return a pointer to a file object. You could put the star next to file, next to the function name, or have a space surrounding it. It's all the same, and my preference has long been to put the star next to the function and or variable name. You'll often see it next to the type, which is also okay. Okay, now we need the file name. I'm going to use const char star file name. Const means the value cannot change. We are passing the file name to open our file and return the file pointer, so it doesn't need to change. This is actually kind of a good habit. If the variable doesn't need changing, maybe just make that argument a const. Okay, we got our function declaration. Let's go below main and make the implementation. I'm going to declare a file pointer and call it file. Right now, this is null, all uppercase. Null means nothing, and since this is a pointer, it points to nothing. So let's assign the value of the file to the return of the function fopen. Fopen is just short for file open. It takes in 2 const char pointers. First is a file name, and the second is the mode. There's a few different modes for opening files, such as for reading and writing, and to read, it's just R. And here's some other helpful modes you might want. And finally, we return the file pointer. So back in main, we can now set our file pointer to the return value of our function openFile. We could have done all this in main, but now you learn that you can return pointers from a function and what a const char pointer is. And the argument we need to pass to our function is argv1. And if you recall, argv0 is the program name, and argv1 will be the first argument we pass to our program, which in our case, it should be a valid file name. Okay, let's try compiling it and running to see if we get any errors. Alright, nothing seemed to have broke, so might be okay. Let's go back to our C file. Now if you recall, the file pointer in the function is null. Well, if fopen errors, such as an invalid file, then it will return null, which means we have no file to actually read. So we need to check that right now. This little exclamation point in an if statement is saying not. Here we are essentially checking if file is null. This actually can be written out as if file equals null. If this file is null, we will output an error and just go ahead and return -2. Alright, let's recompile and test. Alright, with some file that doesn't exist. Perfect, it shows our helpful error because that file cannot be found. And now with our test.txt, no errors, so it opened that file just fine. Let's go back into our C file again. Now we should always close out our file once we open it with fclose. As you can see, that takes a file pointer. Okay, now we can do part 3, output our file to standard out. Let's make a function declaration above main again. This function will just print out the file so we can return void. I'll call it print file. It will take one argument, a file pointer. Okay, I'm going to yank and paste down at the bottom of our C file for the implementation. To read files in C, we have to read it into a buffer first. A buffer is used to hold a small part of the data to do something with. Think of it like a scoop to take out all the ice cream from a tub. Gotta do it one scoop at a time. We will read our file one scoop of our buffer at a time. To make our buffer scoop, we will declare a car array with a size of 512. We want to continue scooping from our file while there is still data. Alright, new code unlocked, the while loop. This one is similar to the for loop, but the while loop is used when we don't know beforehand how many times we will repeat something. The for loop, we check our counter against a number we set. The while loop, we check a Boolean value and keep looping until that's false. Here, the fgetS will return a null when there's nothing to read, and null will be false. So we can loop and scoop with our while loop until we reach a null value from fgetS. FgetS reads a line until a new line is found. It will store it all in the buffer of the size we chose, and the stream is our file we have open. Now, once fgetS is done with its call, it returns. Since we're making cat, we're just going to print out our buffer. Alright, now we just need to call the function with our open file. Let's see how that goes by compiling and running it again. Oh, of course, we got rickrolled again. Hey, and we can even cat out our cat.c file. Awesome, way to level up by doing. The code will be hosted on GitLab. Link will be in the description. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe, like, share, and comment to defeat that algo monster.